talking about we'll be talking about UX fundament. It's more like UX research. What did I say UX mean again?
User experience and user interface.
Okay, yeah. So the UX means user experience.
User experience.
Yeah. So this time around, we'll be talking about UX fundamentals, what you literally need to know for UX.
Sorry, ma. Ma, do I
Yeah.
really need to join on a laptop today?
Mm, okay. Not really. But we'll also be working on something too on a laptop. Why is so you'll be able to see it properly because it's also going to be a build along. So you have to build something too. So it's also I think it's important to join on a laptop. Sha.
Okay, ma.
Okay. So we have this one. So this is more like a reminder that you are actually designing apps for real humans and not ourselves. Most times, most designers think they are designing things for themselves, and thereby they keep designing things that's their wants, not what we want. So that's what we'll be talking about. Mm, I have to scroll up. Okay, so what are we learning today? Today we'll be learning the three core skills every UX designers use every single day. As a for more context, some people actually just specialize on being UX designers. Like they don't have any business being a UI designer. So they just focus on UX. That's to say they focus on the user experience, carrying out research, carrying out interviews, figuring out what people like, and then documenting the whole process. Some people that's literally their role. And that's what we'll be talking about today. So that's to say that even as a UX designer, there is a role for such person. So here we have understand real user needs. So the three core skills every UX designer use every single day is one, they understand real user needs, what users actually want, not what designers assume that these users want. They also build the user personnel. We'll be building this today. So a realistic profile of the person that you intend to design for. This is more like you've done research on, let's say I want to design something for you, Ariola. I go and make research on things that you are, like who you are, your age, your school, um, let's say what you want, your frustrations, every details I can get about you regarding that app, I do that. Next is map a user flow. Have you heard of a user flow before?
No, ma.
What do you think it means?
Sorry, ma. A user what?
A user flow.
A user flow.
A user flow. This following the slides. Can you see my screen, sir?
Yes, ma.
Yeah, this thing I highlighted here. This thing here. A user flow. Can you see my screen? What am I highlighting? A user flow.
I can see it, ma.
Hmm. What do you think it is?
The um, like how do I say it? The procedures that occur, like the procedure, just a user follows. Get what they need to get done on the app.
Okay. Anyways, what that means is the exact step a user takes to reach their goal. For example, now let's say you want to post something on Instagram, the exact flow, the exact step, what the exact clicks that you actually click or pages you will meet for you to actually like make that post. Let's say for Instagram, if you are not logged in, you have to log in. After logging in, where does it take you? It takes you to the home page. Then you have to click the create a post. Once you click the create a post, like all those steps, that is called a user flow. So We'll also be mapping a user flow for every most UX designer map a user flow for every of their platforms. So a quick recap, what is UX again? So UX is how something feels to use, but how do you design a feeling? So I mean, if it is how something feels to use, how exactly do you design a feeling? Basically, I already explained this before. Most designers they tend to design for themselves, not necessarily for their user. And let's say, for example, yeah, I just assume, oh, I think teens like dark mode and 10 features on the home screen, but you didn't ask the teenagers, you just assume that, oh, this is what they will like. For example, oh, let's assume that you, the way you are also a teenager, you assume, oh, since I like this, maybe a couple of other persons will like this. So this can actually be a trap. Yeah, it could be an assumption too. So, but the best way to confirm is to like actually ask the teenager, which is here. Let me talk to the real teens, understand their life, and build something that actually fits into it. So, following the recap of what we built last week, which was the choose zone, which was honestly just it's not like a major deal. It's just how do I explain it? It's just mm, a placeholder. So the stuff we are designing, which was choose zone. So let me assume that choose zone is a mood and music app for teenagers. So, but first we need to figure out, okay, who are we building it for? Basically. So we've done the UI of that one of designing the login, a one screen login page. So now we want to do the UX. So now let's go to the next one. What do users actually think? In this case, what do teenagers actually think? Now, like you must know now, you already know that most times users have this thing they say, they have needs, users have needs, and they have goals, what they are trying to do. Now, your both as a designer is to figure out what is their need and what is it they want to achieve. So most of the time, it's more like a let me go notes. Sorry. So most of the time, most designers we assume things like, oh, teenagers want STEM features on the home screen. I know this is quite exaggerating. Oh, they'll read log instruction before reading it. Oh, users will log in every day just because blah blah blah. Whereas when you carry out a research, you realize that, oh, this is what they actually want. I just want to do one thing instantly. I don't want to guess, just make life easy. Let me share with friends in seconds. Like those are actually what users really like. These are a couple of things that when you ask people some questions, they'll be like, this is actually what I want. They'll just be guessing, they'll just be saying it. So it's very important to ask questions. And that was the reason why I said you should carry out that assignment, basically. The next is uh, the next is, how do you find out what users want? So how do you carry out this research? Actually, so now we're actually in an economy where things have become honestly way better. So there are actually platform that enables you to actually do all this research seamlessly, at least way better. Um But the best way is actually literally asking them. So it could be through interviews, online interviews, it could be through forms or through survey and all of those. So the idea is you're actually communicating with people. And that question is, how do you make sure they tell you the truth? Because a couple of persons will not want to make you feel bad or might not want to just tell you what they have in mind. So um anyways, how best do you figure out what users want? The best way is to talk to them, ask them, and watch them use the platform or a particular platform. So that in itself is called a user research. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
So also I need to like explain why I feel like UX is kind of underrated, especially in Nigeria, but it's a major thing sincerely. Now it's because it will really make life easy for you as a designer to figure out what um what your users need. That way you're actually designing for them and you're thinking for them. Or like just designing like without really figuring out what they want or what they need. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. In Nigeria, it can not really be they might not really they might not really send it. But outside the country there, it's a big deal. It's even a whole full blown career because people it's more like market research. But this time around, yeah, it's more like user research for a platform for an app. So now let's move on to the next UX 101. What a persona. A persona is a fictional but realistic character that represents your typical user, built from real research, not guesses. So most times, a persona is made up of a character. It has a name, obviously. Every character has a name. They have this age. They have a real life, emphasis on a real life. Not just user age 13, 17. They have an actual life. And based on research, probably built from interviews and observations, um also help you guide your decision you make. When stuck, you can ask, for example, for me, I use the character Zara. So would Zara love this? Would it confuse her? So these are things that would help you make decisions after your research. So a personal stops you from designing for yourself and helps you to start designing for someone real. So before, okay, maybe later I'll ask. Okay, so yeah, so for today, for choosing, my own character will be Zara. So every design decision for choose zone should answer one question: would this work for Zara? We are using Zara as a point of contact in prayers to our users. In real life, it's best to do a research with up to 5, 10, 20, as much people as possible, not just one. So this is just a place to show you how a user research works. So here we have Zara. Zara is 15 years old. She resides in Lagos and she's an SS1 student and loves music. So what Zara goes? Mhm. So Gareth wants to share a vibe with friends without typing long messages or shalaye. Zara wants to discover music that match her mood instantly. Oh, Zara is sad. She wants to be able to go into the app and quickly see a music that literally match her mood. Zara wants to feel connected to friends even when she's home studying. So now what's the frustration of Zara? Now, for more context, this is more like an assumption from my end, just to be able to explain all this context to you. And this is more like a made up story to help you. But these are a couple of things that you will be getting when you are making your own research, asking people interviews. So, what do you want to achieve? Sometimes it's even what they say subtly. They might not like say it outright that, oh, this is what I want. You get, but with the kind of question you ask them, you'll be able to figure it out. This is their goal. This is what they're trying to achieve. This is what they would love to achieve. And this is their frustrations basically. So yeah, so we have frustration, apps that take too many steps to do one simple thing. Now they cannot share what she's listening to on Spotify. I think they can share now. So Spotify have already allowed that. But yeah, again, this is just a placeholder. Should I say a placeholder? These are just a made up case study rather. Now they have to be notification that really do not matter to her. So this is like the kind of frustrations she is facing and would like settled. And Zara, most of the time, you'll find her on TikTok, you'll find her on Spotify, you'll find her on Instagram, you'll find her on WhatsApp. This gives you an idea of what Zara is used to, or where Zara stays or is familiar with. So it's more like you are running a research on Zara. This will enable you to know who you're actually designing for. So the next is mapping the journey. Once you've built your personal, like user personal successfully, the next thing you need to do is to figure out what's a user flow. like to figure out the user flow. So user flow is simply it's simple. User flow is how it takes you from here to here. How to take a user from here to the next post stop to their goal. The part a user takes to complete one specific goal inside an app, step by step. This is quite deep. It might look very easy, but it's quite deep. But yeah, let's just stop it at that. So we have the starting point where the user begins. It's usually opening the app, the steps, every screen and decision, everything they click through. Those are like the step. Then the end goal, what's the user successfully accomplished? So one flow, one goal. So think of Google Maps. You don't show every route, you show the route from point A to point B. Example, a perfect example or a real example. For example, do you use child egg?
No, I don't.
Junior uncle.
I don't, ma.
Which platform do you use to order food? You don't order food.
No, I don't, ma.
Okay. So for example, now this is like a food. Now this is a perfect example for ordering food. This is the perfect user flow for ordering food. Number one is they open the app, right? After opening the app, they browse kind of food they want. If they've seen one, they pick a food that they want. The next is they will add it to cart. Next is they will check out. The next thing they will place the order. Now this is complete user for placing now this is a complete user flow for placing an order simply. So each box, a screen that the user see, each arrow, a tab that moves them forward. You get so when they open the app, they see the open the app screen, they see the home page. You get next thing they'll have to click to see the browsing part, right? Sometimes when they open the page, the next thing they will see is the browsing. Another thing again to note as a UX designer is one thing to just notice, try as much as possible to reduce the amount of clicks or time that it will take a user to achieve a goal, unless if it's apparently important. Like you should make sure that if it can be reduced to like up to like a 3 or 2 steps, that's cool. It will even make things easier for people. But then there's the business part. There are some people that there are some organization that they want their users to literally spend time on their platform, like they benefit from that. So this is where you get to balance it all to make sure that okay, the organization is benefiting, and then they deliberately place some things like some design element there to achieve the business goals. All of these things are just UX designer. There are a couple of things that was thoughtfully done, was deliberate. For example, now okay, that one not best explained. But yeah, I hope you got what I mean by the flow here. So now for Zara, like our case study, this is how our flow is likely going to be. She opens the apps, there's probably a splash load, you get something interesting. She logs in, Zara logs in. The next screen she sees is the login screen. Once she is done logging in, after the next thing she see is this mode swing, which is likely the home page or something or landing page. Then she just have to like pick a particular mode, which is likely an emoji. She just have to pick then details or so decide to share. In this case, our goal here is to ask Zara what she zone and share her vibes with her friends. This is a goal. Now, most times you for a real platform, you have to carry out a user flow for each and every of the goals. So now this is just one. Now a platform achieves different things. So you have to carry out for user goals, you have to carry out this for every of the goals for them or every of the flows for them. This would help you when you want to design as well. So the next is oh, this we are going to be building alone. So just give me a minute. So let's just go through this before we like get started with the building along. So firstly is for you actually, or let me just go through it for you because you're also building this too later. This is literally going to be your assignment. So first is you have to pick your own app idea. Let's say a simple app for teenagers. So whatever you want to pick, you just have to make sure you pick your own app idea. Now you are going to build a persona. You are going to give your user a name, an age, it's not give your user a name. You have to like meet your real user. So, and by the way, you can have different personnel. It doesn't have to be just one personnel. You can have as much as possible. Like you can literally have as much as possible. This is a whole lot detailed. There are some things. There's something called, you see, I've forgotten the name of that thing, sha, where you get to figure out, okay, which of them are aligned, which of them is intertwining, which of them do not really relate. Because most times, even when you get research, you realize that some of these things are not really, some of the feedback of some of the this thing you got are not really what you need at least for that moment. So you might have to just like trigger that one for that moment, maybe later on. So it's not like everything that the user gives you is something that you literally use. So you have to build a personnel, figure out their age, the username, their goals, their frustration, their favorite app, and any other thing you actually want to figure out. Maybe their bio to a couple of people just put in bio. And bio yourself, you make up yourself, after you've done your whole research. The next is you define one clear goal. Now for your app idea, you define, okay, um you want user to open the app and do this thing on this app. That's a user goal. It's just going to be one. You can replicate it for other goals. Now you're going to create a user flow. Now you can do this on paper, but I want you to do this on now. I want you to do the personnel on paper, take a picture and then do it digitally on Figma and on there's just other one, FigJam. We are going to be playing around with FigJam today. So you're going to do your user flow on FigJam, then your personnel on Figma. So we have like you're going to submitting like 4 documents, which is number one, the paper one, and then the digital one. Then you walk us through your journey from start to finish. Simple. So this is something you actually be doing. What else? So this is a checklist for you. And this is going to be your assignment. We are still going to go back to the main deal. So this is going to be your assignment. You're going to interview a friend, ask which apps they love, what annoys them, and why. You build a
Well, I
personnel.
can't hear your voice.
Yeah. You can't.
Okay, I can hear you now.
Okay. So after that one, this is also another assignment I want you to do. I think you've done it before, right? But now I want you to build a personnel from what from what the response you got. I want you to build a personnel from the response you got. Now you have to like invent one app idea that solves one of their frustration. Then you build a user flow. Do you understand this assignment?
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly. So you from the interview you made the other time, you're going to build their personnel. You're going to figure out their real goals, their real frustration. Then you now invent something that solves one of the frustration you listed. Then you are going to map one user flow. So next is you can actually ask this your friend to review that your user flow. If anything confuses them, then that means you have to go back again. That is called usability testing. So I did not use a whole lot of the main words. So if you come across any words, it's quite tough. You could just ask me, I'll clarify it. So this is called usability testing. So you can ask your friend to review your flow. If they are not sure of something, then that means something is wrong and it's not clear. So that's called usability testing. All right. So All we learned today, when good UX starts with understanding real users, their goal, frustration, daily life. A personal give your user a face and a voice. So that means you're not just designing for one animal, one place. A user flow maps one go from start to finish. Simple, clear, step by step. So do you have any question before we go to, oh, this is also homework. So I heard for next week, I also want you to read watch these videos. This would actually enable you to have an idea of what we'll be doing next week. So yeah, next week is going to be a big deal, sha. But yeah, do you have any question before we go into the main um before we start building actually? Any question? Are you there?